And let's get right into it. You're watching The Last Word. I'm Sanjana. Good evening. The massive protests that broke out after the Nirbhaya case in New Delhi in December 2012 forced the centre to amend India's criminal laws to strengthen the provisions against sexual violence. An equally gruesome sexual crime last week in Cyberabad has shown that stringent laws will not help if law enforcement is weak and insensitive. But it seems like the Andhra Pradesh government has imagined that it has cracked the whip on how to fast-track trial in such cases. Well, you may not believe it, but here is what the state has come up with: a draft law to punish rapists. Now, as per this draft bill, there's going to be stringent punishment for crime against women. Punishment against criminals within 21 days. Probe in rape cases to be concluded in 1 week. 1 week, viewers. Monitor social media for content that berates women. Block porn websites. Besides prohibitions. Now, zero FIR also, where police have to register a case irrespective of the jurisdiction. And lastly, death penalty for rape convicts spreading. And also, action against those spreading malicious information through social media posts against women as an offence. Now, these are all the provisions. And you may be wondering, given the present judicial system in our country, whether this is practically possible. Well, we don't know. But for someone who has been part of the judicial system in our country, they say this is something practically impossible. And that's what we're going to be looking and debating tonight on The Last Word. Let me quickly introduce my guest this evening. I have Ravichandra Reddy, spokesperson of the YSRCP, Justice Saldana, former judge of the Bombay High Court, Aishwarya Bhati, senior advocate Supreme Court, Sudhakar Suratkar, former IPS officer, Pattabi Ram Komareddy, spokesperson of the TDP. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Justice Saldana, has the Andhra government, in its efforts to play to the gallery and sound extremely good on paper, completely misjudged the legalities of this?
Tanvi, let me prefix what I have to say by repeating again that I've always maintained that people who hold high public offices, that they should either be qualified or that they should acquire the necessary skills that that office requires. Now, this particular proposal that has been put forward, if you ask me, is downright ridiculous. First of all, the everybody concedes. I'm very much in favor of it, that we have got to speed up. We've got to speed up our criminal justice system. But in order to do that, there are drastic overhauls that are required. And the state of Andhra Pradesh has no power to go and make amendments as far as the IPC and the CRPC are concerned. That's where the major amendments are required. But you're very right, the question raised was the practicality. Now, we'd be very happy if these trials are concluded speedily. But please tell me, what is the time frame as far as the investigating authorities are concerned? Most of the time, these cases die because of the delay during the investigations. And the forensic evidence, which is extremely important in all these cases, either it is not collected or there are delays in analyzing it, and then you see that evidence is not available because they say it is unfit, the samples are unfit for analysis, etc. Now, the delays occur to start with at the investigation level, and that's where the state government comes into the picture. Now, instead of taking people out to fields and shooting them, which is the easy way to short-circuit a trial, as has happened in Hyderabad, unfortunately, the real solution that we've got to look for has got to be a sensible solution, a practical solution, and a workable solution. To start with, the state government has got to see to it that there are highly qualified people of integrity and skills who deal with these cases, that the investigation is completed at the earliest available opportunity. When the CRPC was amended many years back, the they even went, I mean, the amendment said that if a charge sheet is not filed within so many days, even in serious cases, that the accused will have to be released on bail. Now, that is not the intention, because that may defeat the purpose of the law. Now, there's got to be top speed, skillful investigation to start with. And secondly, as far as the fast-track courts are concerned, I'm very sorry to point out, the statistics show that the fast-track courts were set up in order to speed up the trials in those of the cases where it was very necessary, like this category of cases.
Right.
And I must say that it was well-intentioned. The late Mr. Arun Jaitley had set them up. But the statistics show that the areas in the fast-track courts, the number of cases that go there are higher than the cases before the normal courts. And it's just impossible, because trials can't be rushed through. If a witness has not come, you can't just say that, all right, I'll do without him. So it's downright, this proposal, according to me, is impracticable. I hope I'm very much in favor of speeding up the system, but this is not the way to do it.
Right. So let me understand this. Ravichandra Reddy, how has this been legally understood by the state government? How have you imagined that this is going to be possible? What was the thought behind this?
Madam, need of the hour is reforms should happen in judiciary. By that way, we are going in Andhra Pradesh. A reform actually has being happened now in name of AP Disha Act, which comprises 21 days to capital punishment who actually involved in rape, murder, like woman harassment cases. जो अत्याचारी को सजा मिलना चाहिए वो 21 दिन में मिलना चाहिए, वो एक टाइम बाउंड प्रोग्राम रहना चाहिए, फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट हर जिले में रहना चाहिए। 13 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स का जो आंध्र प्रदेश है, 13 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में ईच डिस्ट्रिक्ट में एक फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट को एस्टैब्लिश किया जाए, ताकि डेली बेसिस पे वो जो ट्रायल चलना है वो ट्रायल चले, ताकि जल्दी से जल्दी within 14 days only the trial should be finished if it is possible, but some limits may be there. But the initiative in India, only Andhra Pradesh has been taken. In this direction, entire parliament also has to think. Even प्रधानमंत्री जी ने भी इसी बारे में सोचना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि एक बार निर्भया एक्ट लाने के बाद 7 साल से जो कल्प्रिट है उन लोगों को अभी तक पनिशमेंट नहीं मिला। अभी इंतजार, तारीख के बाद तारीख, आफ्टर deciding the judgment also, the punishment is not being imposed. How long this? Because justice delayed is nothing but justice denied to the victim.
Yes, I understand that. Mr. Reddy, I understand that completely.
At one juncture,
Mr. Reddy, I'm sure the YSRCP has done this with the best of intentions, even though you are being accused of playing to the gallery and all these kinds of things. I'm trying to understand, how is this going to work? Structurally, how is this going to work? Because we're not talking, you've reduced the time essentially from 4 months to 21 days. And actually there's a further breakup. You have said 7 days for the probe and then another 14 days. Have you not accounted for anything like paperwork, like witnesses? I'm trying to understand what has been the thought process of the state government. Obviously, you must have thought something about this or had some understanding कि आंध्र प्रदेश में ऐसे होता है तो हम लोग ऐसे कर सकते हैं. यही सोचा होगा ना?
क्यों नहीं मैडम, आंध्र प्रदेश में एक कोशिश के लिए ये जो कदम उठाए गए हैं आज, ये कोशिश के जरिए कुछ दिन आगे पीछे भी होगा तो एक टाइम बाउंड का प्रोग्राम देश भर में शुरू होना चाहिए। क्यों इस दिशा में नहीं सोचेंगे हम? एपी दिशा एक्ट का मतलब यही है, एक टाइम बाउंड प्रोग्राम में उसका पनिशमेंट्स वो कल्प्रिट्स को मिले, ताकि भय रहे जो ये जो संगीन अपराध करते हैं उन लोगों के लिए एक भय का वातावरण क्रिएट करना चाहिए कि नहीं। अब 7 साल तक केस को ड्रैग करके, ताकि कुछ एविडेंसेस मर जाए, कुछ कल्प्रिट्स खुद मर जाए, ताकि तब तक वेट करते रहें।
All right. So then, Sudhakar Suratkar, even if this is well intended, as the state government is claiming, procedurally, on the police's end, is this even possible?
Yeah.
There is paperwork involved.
Yeah.
There are forensics involved.
Yeah.
Even if you had the most efficient,
It's
dutiful officers,
definitely-
it's unfair to put this kind of pressure.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I am of the opinion, yes, it can be done. In most of the cases, it can be done. I have investigated many cases myself. I have been in witness box. So overall, my opinion is, particularly cases like rape with murder, it may not be applicable in all the cases, but we can always, in selective cases, complete investigation within 7 days, and even the trial can be completed within 15 days. There is no difficulty, provided the investigation officers conduct investigation properly, the public prosecutor marshals the evidence properly, even the judges don't take to technical points and give adjournments and all that. If it is done start to finish, it is possible. And I think in exceptional cases like rape with murder, it can definitely be done. Only thing is that everybody will have to deliver, right from police and even witnesses. What is happening today, witnesses feel unprotected. Witnesses are not coming forward. Police are not conducting investigation properly. Prosecutors are not putting up. I am not generalizing it in most of the cases. It's my humble request that if we, all of us, act together in coordinated efforts, including the forensic experts, this can be achieved. And I think let's see this trial. And I'm hopeful that though there may be some difficulty in certain cases
But
where
sir,
it cannot be
just
completed within this stipulated period,
simply put,
you can always give reasons for it.
Simply put, if 7 days, if you're not able to find the accused, if the accused is absconding, is 7 days enough for the police? You have paperwork involved.
No, this of course will start from the day of the arrest. It always starts from the day of arrest. Actually, what in the law, whatever protection is given, 90 days somebody mentioned. If you, after arrest, you don't submit the charge sheet within 90 days, 60 days in some cases and 90 days in some cases, then only the accused has the right to end. Tada case and all is 180 days. So this stipulated period is there. Then only it becomes a matter of right. Bail becomes a matter of right. That's the case. Now I am talking as an investigating officer. Whom do you need? The victim, the doctor who has performed, then this forensic evidence. And so the witnesses and everything required is not a very long list or big list. If you wish, you can definitely do it. And there have been cases where it has been done. In Nagpur, one session judge decided a rape case within a week. So my point is plain and simple. If you want to do it, if there is desire, it can be done.
All right, all right. Justice Saldana, I'm going to come to you, but before that, Aishwarya Bhati, even if we have a dedicated court, do you not see this being problematic at all? Because we don't know how many witnesses will be needed.
Well, it's a tall order, certainly. It's a very tall order, but it's not unachievable. In fact, just the timeline being so short, and nobody will have a long rope. So everything will be fast-tracked, everything will be sooner. See, we have to, I was hearing Mr. Reddy, I think he's investigated a lot of cases. So Reddy sir was pointing out very interestingly, see, rape accused almost invariably always leaves some evidence, on the body of the victim, on the crime scene. So it's absolutely possible to do this quickly. Of course, it will have to be, POCSO already has deadlines. Timelines are already there in the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. Of course, but some category will have to be created for, where there's the issue is whether the sexual intercourse was by consent or not by consent. But definitely where rapes are there for, consent is not an issue, where there is assault, where there is rape and murder, then it can certainly be made and it should be done. And it is possible for, dedicated courts, fast-track courts to conclude the trial also in a time-bound manner in a sexual assault rape case.
Okay, Justice Saldana, you want to weigh in on that, because now, I mean, it is appearing that Aishwarya Bhati is saying that it is possible We've also had, retired police officers, Sudhakar Suratkar, also saying that it is entirely possible. But procedurally, it is still appearing like, okay, while the intent may be there, there is also things like structure. There are also due courses of law that need to be followed, and those things take time.
Tanvi, let me tell you from my long
Sir,
experience
I'm sorry
both
to
as a
interrupt.
criminal
My name is
lawyer and
Sanjana,
as a
sir.
judge.
Sorry to interrupt. My
that-
name is Sanjana.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry,
That's all
Sanjana.
right. That's all right.
I'm very sorry because, I'm speaking. Right. Sanjana, my long experience has shown that one of the very serious problems is to get the forensic lab to submit its report within the required time. Now, I'm all in favor. I would like to see to it, if they can do it within 1 day or 2 days, excellent. Please, let us all try and see that this process is speeded up. First of all, I would recommend that don't send these cases just to the fast track courts. Let us have designated courts. There are specialist courts as far as certain categories of offences are concerned. Let us have specialist courts to deal with these crimes against women. Now, take rape, for instance, gang rape, or a rape of this type as has happened. The consequences are very serious. It could end in a death penalty. So you can't rush through it. Speed it up, yes, but you can't rush through it, because then there is a chance that there may be a miscarriage of justice. And that it is very important, because please remember that the acquittal rate as far as many of these rape cases are concerned is relatively high, because I don't want to write off the police department. We've got some very good officers, very efficient officers, but there is also a tendency very often to short-circuit procedures, to rush to conclusions, and very often there are situations in which there is wrong implication. Now, all this has got to be scrutinized by the court. You can't just turn around and say that take the person and hang him within 7 days. Yes, by all means. I also read about one of the trials wherein the judge completed it within a few days. Excellent. Now, please see that that happens more often. But to turn around and say that this 21 days will be a limit. What if it can't be completed within 21 days? What happens? Do the accused go scot-free? Or what happens if it can't be done? So, I mean, evaluate the entire process. But the most important aspect, let us lay emphasis on it. The most important aspect is the investigation process. Now, speed this up, but not to the extent of jumping over the essential requirements.
True. Absolutely.
That's my.
So let me ask the TDP, because Patabi Ram Reddy is also.
Let me also say.
Sure. Just a second, Justice Saldana. I want to understand the TDP's position on this, because, in the case of Nirbhaya, there were delays. Yes, sure. But it still took years. So how can we generalize that these cases can be completed so easily? Does the TDP have a position on that?
Yeah, good evening, Sanjana. See, we all understand the fact that every citizen in this country is demanding speedy justice when such heinous crimes like rapes happen. So every citizen wants that. I mean, justice to be delivered in a time-bound manner.
True.
So we support, Telugu Desam TDP supports any action which goes towards in that direction. So we are all for it. So I mean, we want people who are behind such heinous crimes to be brought to justice immediately, because we've all seen how the Nirbhaya convicts are still in jail. I mean, even after 7 years, justice not being delivered. So we are all for speedy justice. But that at the same time, Justice Saldana had raised some valid points. See, I mean, amendments to the IPC or CRPC or any other amendments have to be made at the national level. I mean, they are not under the purview of the state. And there are some practical problems also. So a wider debate is essential when we carry out such amendments. So we expect that the central government also gets into this and takes some initiation and brings about some amendments at the national level and ensures speedy justice. And the second point is, if you look at The person who's talking about this law, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, recently, Sanjana, we have seen a report of ADR, Association for
Right.
Democratic Reforms,
Right. Yes. Yes.
which says that the third highest number of people's representatives who have committed crimes
Crimes
against
against
women
women.
are from Y.S. Congress party.
Right.
So, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy,
Unnecessary comment.
the president of a party,
Unnecessary
who has
comment,
the
Mr.
third highest number of people's representatives who have committed crimes against women. So we demand Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy to first take action against his own men before bringing out such laws. First, he should take action against his own
Okay.
MPs and MPs.
Okay. So this is a bit of This is a bit of veiled support. Then this is a bit of veiled support, Mr. Komareddy, because okay. So then let me just ask Aishwarya Bhatti then slightly differently. Aishwarya, we know that there is of course a shortage. Of judges. There is, of course, that. I mean, if I can just pull up the numbers on my screen and just show you that, we have 19 judges per 10 lakh people. These are the kind of staggering numbers that we're looking at. Just in Madhya Pradesh alone, there's a sanction strength of 2,221. The working strength is only 1,315. The shortage is nearly 700 judges. Once again, let me look at Delhi, let me look at Rajasthan. We're all looking at a major shortage. So was this law then, I'm asking, was this law actually needed? Another new law? Can we not work on strengthening our system instead of adding more problematic solutions like this?
So, Sanjana, we have our fair share of problems in our systems. Being a developing country, our population being so large, our resources always seem to fall short of our ever-burgeoning population. But maybe a new law is not required. I have always believed that we have sufficient laws. But this is a law, which is going to fast-track the whole system. Of course, there are problems. It's a very tall order, like I said. But then, is this not required? Do we want the one half of the population of our country, of our humanity, to go about their days worrying about their safety? It's not like a law is being brought in to completely circumvent the processes. And it's not like whenever a law prescribes for timelines, it is not like it does not provide for relaxations. We've not seen the full text of this, but there are always relaxations provided for extraordinary situation. But let this become the norm. Let this be the normal situation, that 7 days investigation, 14 days of trial. Because for rapes with assault, rapes with murder, etc. These cases, and child, where there is no issue of consent, these are cases where the evidence is invariably almost always available. Delays have their own set of problems also. Like making things faster will have, there are huge issues, but making things, procrastinating things has their own set of problems. Witnesses are not available, the data gets lost, people can't recall, there's a whole set of problems. In fact, the conviction rates are much higher for cases which are done faster, criminal cases which stagger for years and decades altogether.
True.
The conviction rates ultimately at the appellate stage, if you see, it is very, very poor. So I don't see any problem in this law if it can be implemented.
Right, but it's not so much the problem, it's more the unrealistic timeline that has been set. Because Mr. Sudhakar, are you sure? Because by doing this, has the state government worsened the situation? In a lot of people's opinion, by showing how distant and detached they are from the realities of things. Because are you really trying to tell me that the police will not be under any kind of pressure, undue pressure to perform in 7 days?
If you see the psychology of police, there are clearly three kinds of policemen. One who want to save the accused and deliberately keep loophole. So let's understand the problem. Let's understand the problem. There are policemen who are mixed up with the gangsters and who want to save for some different reasons. There are honest and straightforward officers, and there are officers who want to save the persons who are in the power. So let's come to the ground realities. To deal with a problem, overall improvement will have to be done, and right from the witness, police, prosecutor to the judge. Actually, I see many times most of the judges on very technical ground delay the cases. Just because the advocate wants an adjournment, because he is busy with some other case, so I would say that we are all jointly responsible. I am not blaming any particular agency, but I would definitely place policemen, because that is the starting point. So if the policemen mean to investigate cases properly, they can definitely do in most of the cases. I am sure at least in say more than 70% cases this can be done. And the cases which it cannot be done, it can be brought to the notice of the court and extension can be obtained. Similarly, if the judge is not in a position to finish the case, he can also give reasons and get the extension. I am of the opinion that yes, this can be achieved, but this should be limited to the cases like rape with murder. And it can be done in cases of very limited cases. It cannot be applied to all the cases.
Right. So that also needs to be looked at, because Mr. Ravichandra Reddy, has the state government accounted for appeals? Are you going to imagine the case is going to stay in trial court? How is the state government accounted for that? Because that's something I'm trying to understand here from the state government, is how they have thought of this. The intention may be great. It looks fantastic on paper, but 21 days. 21 days.
Sanjana, if you see 21 days is major haphazard, and there should be a time limit. Let the central government decide some time limit for the judiciary to give capital punishments in rape and murder. Such cases should be punished in time bound at least. Now, this is very high time to make reforms in judiciary. Why central government is not doing anything else? What happened in Unnao case, we see that accused personalities who came on bail, they जिंदा जला दिया मुस्लिम को, तो विक्टिम को जिंदा जला दिया, ताकि वो लोग दोबारा रेप करें, बाहर आके खुलेआम में फिरे, और टाइम बाउंड में वो केसेस अगर सॉल्व हो जाता है तो ऐसा विक्टिम्स को न्याय मिलेगा ना। वो न्याय मिलने के बजाय दोबारा वो लोग को खुला आजाद छोड़ दिए, बेल केसेस बेल दे दिए, तो ये तो सरासर अन्याय है एकदम। तो हम ये जो इनिशिएटिव लिया है आंध्र प्रदेश में, ये एंटायर कंट्री में होना चाहिए। टाइम बाउंड जुडिशरी शुड बी अकाउंटेबल to victims and people. Actually, this is high time. Even our MPs will raise this issue. Such incidents, if happen in national level also, they have to take time bound judgments regarding the bill has to be introduced. So many bills are being introduced into parliament in these days, and it is quite possible. If it is not 21 days, they can suggest for 45 days or 30 days or 90 days at the maximum. Why not?
Justice Saldana, would it be absolutely unfair then to run down everything in the provisions of this bill? Because on paper, as we have been saying, it looks and seems well-intentioned, but it's also been a bit hasty. Because there are these provisions of this 21 days. There's, of course, the death penalty, making Andhra Pradesh perhaps the only state to okay capital punishment. Is there anything that's laudable about this?
Sanjana, as I said right from the beginning, I am one of those persons who has campaigned both as a lawyer and as a judge, and I did it myself, that we have got to have maximum expediency in all categories of cases. Now let us come to this category. The country is crying for somebody's blood on the ground that he is a rapist and he should be punished. Now, this is not going to, see, what we need in this country is a total reform. We need a reform of the system. We need many. Now, I'll just give you two examples.
No doubt.
Every police officer is not, every investigating officer is not competent to handle this. This is a specialist category. You require special skills to successfully and intelligently investigate a case like this. Now, if the investigation is shoddy, the accused gets the benefit of it. And if it is hurried, the police officer will say that, sir, I was given a 7-day deadline, I didn't get the requisite evidence, so I just submitted the charge sheet.
Exactly.
Now, there are lots of lacuna wanting, and the accused gets the benefit. Now, this is one. So what we've got to do is to set up a specialist investigating authority to take care of this category of cases. Now that's going to take time because we'll need trained people for that, or they'll have to be infused with special skills. Now the second part of it, when it comes to the trial before the trial courts, is not just a question of picking anybody and setting up. Now suppose the government says that we are going to set up specialist courts in order to deal with this category of cases. Excellent. I'd like to see that. I want it. Now anybody can't be put there. Any judge can't be put there. He has got to have sufficient experience. He's got to have the special skills. But more importantly, as an ex-judicial officer, I can tell you, he has got to have the right attitude. And that attitude comes through proper professional training. Now, this has got to be screened because otherwise, again, there'll be disaster. I mentioned the other day I think on your channel, that I myself had colleagues of mine, even at the High Court level, who, according to me, were sort of, they're not mentally conditioned to deal with this category of cases. So we've got to get judges of that level. And again, as far as the judiciary is concerned, I can tell you that the judges and the system have been trying their very best. Now, the law itself provides that in a case of capital punishment, that case has got to be given total and maximum priority. The High Court hears it with maximum expediency, without any delay, and usually a case relating to capital punishment, it is disposed of within 30 days by the High Court. But you can't cut out the right of appeal. And again, somebody suggested that from the trial court you go straight to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not a court of criminal appeal. You have to go to the High Court. You cannot bypass the High Court.
It's not.
And in special cases, in unusual cases, the Supreme Court does interfere because it's a question of life and death. It's a question, even if it's a life sentence, you got to see whether that sentence is correct. Sometimes there are serious flaws. So by all means, I don't say no. If the idea is to speed up, yes, by all means speed up.
Right.
But please do it scientifically, please do it correctly. That's my only request.
Okay, so then let me ask the TDP now. Let me ask you, Mr. Kumar Reddy, is this actually going to work in a state like Andhra Pradesh? And if the TDP was tasked with something like this, if you were in power when something as horrific happened in the neighboring state, what would you do differently?
Yeah, Sanjana, for the safety of the women of our country, serious reforms are required. We are all for it. I mean, we are all for stronger laws. We are all for speedy delivery of justice. But at the same time, Mr. Justice Saldana had raised very valid points. See, in a hurry to finish an investigation in 21 days, an accused should not go scot-free tomorrow. And at the same time, an innocent person should not get punished. So without having a kind of a proper backup, whether it might be for an infrastructure to carry out an investigation scientifically, or there are a lot many other things which are involved. So a larger debate is required, a much larger preparation is required before bringing in such laws. So we have to take into account many other aspects like Mr. Justice Saldana had raised. So after taking into consideration all these things, there is every need today for finishing a trial in a particular time frame. The TDP is all for it, but at the same time we should be well prepared. I mean, with all kinds of required backups that are necessary for a proper and a justified investigation. So that is what we are asking, and we also demand the central government. See, we've seen the central government bringing in amendments to laws like Article 370, bringing in overnight into the parliament. So central government also should act quickly and bring out certain reforms in the laws, certain amendments to the laws, bring out certain infrastructural changes, bring out the necessary backups that are required. So central government should seriously think about all these things and bring a stronger law, and TDP fully supports any kind of initiative in that direction, whether it might be from the state government or the central government.
Right, but I'm asking you about whether it's going to work in a state like Andhra Pradesh, whether the intent is actually there within the state government, whether the intent is actually there within the police system to work and perform this way when it comes to actually taking crimes against women seriously.
See, as far as the intent is concerned, previously I've mentioned, It is for the Chief Minister and President of the YSR Congress Party, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, to prove his intent by taking action against his own men first. We have 7 members sitting in Assembly and Parliament who are accused in rape cases and crimes against women from YSR Congress Party. So we demand
and again, he want to use this platform for some other discussion.
Without
this is not political discussion. If you want to continue with a political discussion, let us debate on that.
Sanjana,
this is not the right platform to
Gentlemen,
you
let's
to
not
discuss
talk
about
over
the
each
political
other.
allegation.
Let's not talk over
This
each
is not
other.
the political allegation platform to discuss.
Okay, Mr. Komareddy, you can finish what you're saying. Mr. Reddy, I'll come to you as well. Mr. Komareddy, go ahead. Go ahead.
See, my point, Sanjana, is if we talk about intent, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy should prove his right intent by taking action against his own men. And the second thing is, it is possible.
Again, he want to reiterate it.
As my friends in the
Political
panel,
comments are not required.
Mr. Reddy, please let me conclude.
Political comments are not required. This is not such platform.
As my friend
Okay. This is becoming heavily political. This is becoming heavily political, and this is not this is not done so that you could use this platform to take pot shots at each other. That's not what this is about. And especially when it comes to crimes against women, what has happened is something very serious. What has happened is something extremely serious, and while I'm sure our viewers, all of us can actually appreciate that maybe the opposition and the state government are actually speaking in one voice, we can't use this as a pot-shot. Of course, that is it also remains to be seen. While I will also maintain, it remains to be seen about the kind of action that the state government initiates against its own party members, because Mr. Komareddy is definitely making a point there. So Justice Saldana, child sexual abuse cases, they also have a time limit. We've seen dowry cases, domestic violence cases, they all have a time limit. I mean, with child sexual cases, it's 1 year, but there are so many cases pending. So on what basis, I can't understand, has this even been introduced? And with this, I mean, with this particular provision, do you see it working?
Sanjana, you hit the nail on the head. Do you have the, now you've set up, you've prescribed deadlines. Do you have the infrastructure backup? The answer is no. So according to me,
no.
before you sort of go and announce decisions of this type, build up the infrastructure. Now I'd like to know, does this state, the reform is suggested here, very good. Does this state, do they have enough of laboratories? Do they have enough of experts there? And do they have the infrastructure to deal with serious issues such as the forensic evidence in rape cases and to submit a report within 3 days? No state has it, I can tell you. Now build that up first. This is the starting point. Again, specialist police officers. Do you have them? The answer is obviously no. Now you'll have to train them up. That's going to take time.
Not many.
But please, the intention is very laudable, very pious. But what is the use of prescribing something and then turning around and saying that it was, we just prescribed a deadline, but we couldn't adhere to it.
Okay.
That's my point. Go about what you want to do, go about it sensibly and practicably.
Right.
And the same applies, you see, even as far as the courts are concerned. We need more judges, but more importantly, we need specialist judges. It's not merely a question of numbers. Now, when are you going to appoint them? When are you going to set up the designated courts? These are all issues. They shouldn't take years. By all means, no.
Right.
I mean, reform should be done very speedily.
Right.
They should be implemented.
So Ravichandra Reddy,
But,
that is something else that also needs to be answered, which Justice Saldana has rightly raised, which is also what I was putting forth to Sudhakar as well, because this is something that needs to be considered, because you may have the most efficient, dutiful, sharpest officers, but you then may not have the infrastructure to support this kind of timeline.
Actually, what's
one thing
the need of the day
I want to mention.
is
Mr.
the need of
One
the
second,
day is
Sudhakar sir, just a second.
well-trained, dedicated, honest police officers, prosecutors, and the
Can I
judges.
intervene?
And to deal with such cases, we'll
Sanjana,
have
can
to
I
select
Yes,
teams
yes, Mr. Reddy, just a second.
which is
Just a
well
second.
trained, well disciplined, and dedicated, which is not very difficult.
Okay, okay. Mr. Reddy, go ahead.
One thing is sure and certain, YSRCP government in Andhra Pradesh is very much committed under leadership of Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy. We want to make quick justice to the victim. This is our motto. After all the governments are
Yes,
responsible to
but Mr.
protect
Reddy,
and
Mr. Reddy,
ensure the safety
that's
of
all
the
of
people.
India. That's all of
We
India.
want to ensure the safety of the people.
Yeah, that's all
Who
of
has
India.
to protect?
We are
Who
questioning.
has to protect?
We are questioning.
In our way, even now,
Your,
central government also has to think.
your
And
intentions aren't
Justice
being
Saldana ji,
questioned. Your intentions are being
Justice
lauded.
Saldana ji has
Your
made a
intentions are
valid
being
point.
lauded. We're trying to understand here
Yes,
what is the
yes,
what is
I want to specify.
what.
Justice Saldana ji specified that expertise staff is required for faster courts,
Yes. So
fast
have you
track
set
courts.
them up?
And we are in that way. We are in that way. We are only forming in 13 districts, 13 fast track courts. For that, we will recruit all, we request to recruit from central government also, who is having all the expertise. Even our police side also, the expert people will be recruited for that fast track courts.
All right.
And in
Okay.
such a model, we have to clear at least a hurdle. After fast track court delivering a judgment also, there will be a high court, there will be Supreme Court. Again, central government has to involve in such cases. And Union Minister of Home, MOS, जो किशन रेड्डी जी ने कहा था, ये जो दिशा का केस हुआ है हैदराबाद में, उनके घर जा करके कहा था, हम कानून बदलेंगे, मगर कब बदलेंगे? नया कानून लाएंगे, कब लाएंगे? पार्लियामेंट तो हो रहा है.
Okay.
पार्लियामेंट में ये आवाज क्यों नहीं
Okay,
उठाया
Mr.
गया?
Reddy, nobody is questioning. Nobody is questioning the state. No, no, no. This is not what the debate is about. Nobody is questioning the state government's intent. We are not questioning the state government's intent. We are questioning. We are questioning. So, okay. We are questioning the feasibility of this because of the kind of timeline that you've said and the practicality of it. We're trying to understand here because, you know, it's kind of appearing now that the state government is extremely detached from what's happening on ground. Let me quickly open the call lines. Just a second, Mr. Reddy. Mr. Reddy, just a second, please. I'm going to bring in some callers right now. I have Krishna joining me from Hyderabad as we speak. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on The Last Word. Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead, Krishna.
Yes, sir. Ma'am, I have one question to all the parties over here who all are arguing on this. See, just now some YCP leader has told that, no, this is not the final court. We have High Court and Supreme Court. Then what is the point of putting this 21 days trial? Unless until you don't...
Our intention is to clear the trial court, and our MPs will make to create impact on central government also,
sir,
to intervene in such cases.
Let me tell you. Your
to amend the laws.
See, be it any MPs, they will come and argue only there are parliament sessions. First thing. Second thing, unless until you don't provide infrastructure to police department. Let me remind you of one case, okay? Satyam case, you know about Ayesha and Satyam case. What has happened over there? Almost after 9 years of trial, it has been proved that the accused is innocent. So, within 21 days, you prove an accused who are, even if he is innocent, okay, or he intensely done this, then you implement some punishment against him.
Okay. The state, so understandably and obviously even people within the neighboring states are questioning this. The YSRCP definitely has to answer this and definitely create some kind of plan or structure before they make such announcements. I have another caller joining me from Delhi now. Jay joining us on the phone line. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on The Last Word. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. What I want to say is, we are talking about overspeeding, whether it's going to crash Jagan's fast track idea. See, why are we so skeptical in the beginning itself? We have to make a start. We have to make stronger laws, create some environment which actually causes a concern in the minds of the people who are doing this activity. The laws have to ensure that we begin somewhere. There has to be an innovation. We live in a digital age. We cannot be talking about legacy ideas. Oh, can we do it in 6 months, 12 years, whatever,
Okay,
Cases
okay.
have taken 7 years. Please allow things to begin. Make a new beginning and then give it a time to see what is the response. How does it react? Whether there has been a positive sign to it
Or
or
the
there are some
negative.
other improvements.
All right. Thank you so much, Jay, calling us from the national capital. So there you had it, the state government of Andhra Pradesh attempting to introduce this draft law that will ensure or attempts a speedy trial. But what we're asking tonight was simple. Nobody's questioning the intent. Nobody is questioning about how good this actually looks on paper. But what we're questioning is this actually doable? Is 21 days actually going to happen? Is 7 days enough for the police to even finish their probe? Those are questions that the state government actually needs to answer and plan before they announce such laws and provisions. Thank you so much for watching this evening.